Hello, I'm Dr. Shubhanuji, co-faculty for the College of Health Sciences and Public Policy at Walden University with a joint faculty appointment at Ross University School of Medicine. And in this lecture, I'm going to be going over qualitative GIS, but more specifically understanding how we can empower cities in order to effectively use geospatial technology. So there's some caveats you have to figure out when you're applying this from a global perspective to the local perspective. So the nuances I'll be going over. So here I talk about specific areas of geospatial context, and not just qualitative geospatial, but more urban sovereignty perspective. So the idea is that larger companies, digital companies, are starting to hone in on the local levels, and in order to pull communities out of its bootstraps and be able to understand how that takes place. But I'll make it clear as this continues. So objectives, what we'll be going over digitally mediated urban space. So the interesting aspect of this is that geospatially you can understand that urban space. And built environment is part of this. So digital urbanism, smart cities, smart citizens, and then digital sovereignty. So it's not to say that geospatial considerations are only digital, but and are suppressing citizens. That's not the case, but we're trying to understand how digital sovereignty can empower citizens to be able to then maneuver around smart cities and be empowered from the smart cities and empowered from becoming a smart citizen. Let's go over what that really means. Digital mediated urban space. This is an example on the right of a modern city. Graham and Cook talked about augmented reality about 10 years ago, and even more critical approaches. Spatial evidence. Let's use the evidence in differential context. So different geographical contexts categorized as even geolinguistic groups. So linguistic commonalities between one city and the next can provide this sort of community building in specific environments. So still continuing on with digitally mediated urban space. So Sean Graham accurately articulated this hybrid space by saying, as much as the city has been conceptualized as the correlate of the road. So the city has to be conceptualized beyond just the road. So now it may now reveal itself as the correlate of the optic fiber. So even a lot of the web doctor visits, a lot of the different interfaces that were initially face-to-face have become digital. And so let's not ignore that. That's what the point is here. So digital urbanism, many studies demonstrate this concept, and the idea is new forms of city management control and power relations are being aligned through digital technology. So it would be in our folly to not be able to include that. Digital urbanism affecting new modes of government. Well, digitalization has opened the way for new players to enter the political field in cities. So I highlighted some of those. From big tech corporates and digital experts to, unfortunately, I have to say this, but hackers. Large digital companies applying information communication technologies may be in conflict. And they may be in conflict with some of the large digital companies and information communication. So some of these is thought of as a cure-all for today's cities, many pressing problems, and that large digital companies are the only ones capable of collecting, producing, and applying urban data. But when they do so, the commodification of urban data becomes even more. And of course, there's lucrative opportunities there, but I need to explore those more. So smart cities, the unprecedented level of data collection and the concentration of power in the hands of a small number of tech corporates, oligopolies, have raised critical privacy concerns for citizens. So Shoshana Zuboff, 2019, has been active in this area and warned about, in her surveillance capitalism thesis, about some of the caveats. She raises concern that computing and commodifying behavior data. So it's computing and commodifying behavior data is going beyond just interfering with our behavior in our everyday lives to determine everything from that to determining and redirecting desirable and undesirable ways of living. Let me give you an example. So, when there's your car is being uh, is measuring the distance between yourself and passing vehicles. So you're able to, in this situation, redirect an undesirable crash to a desirable outcome where there is no crash. So these are desirable ways, and that smart cities are and vehicles can be smart. But if there's an undesirable way of living, then that um, it is more of an individual level and a community level than what some of these can um, apply or elucidate. So smart cities state corporate partnership regime has been critically analyzed by the same traditional geographic accounts that have been used for mega project peers, such as neoliberal development. So neoliberal development is in some ways related to gentrification and the devaluing of certain properties in terms of redlining and other aspects of that. But if we look at some of the smartness that is being, if you make apply this in an effective manner, then geospatial components can amplify the community local level interventions and provide an impetus to understand and then transform regular types of understanding and gaps. So smartness, apolitical, pragmatic, and rational common territory. So there's in smart cities, there's a tendency to present the urban and smart urban as a blank canvas upon which powerful, sophisticated technology be applied. So there's a logocentrism, as I call it, among larger companies to kind of think of city environments as nothing there. And that really oversimplifies and made to work. It works in some very straightforward, useful new ways, but it's important to understand translating urban problems into universal techno problems can be problematic. To be solved while overlooking the challenges that each city faces at the grassroots level and the political implications of digital media for local companies. And it may be in some ways problematic, but if we think of concept of smart citizen can be understood as a mild version of resistance toward tech capitalist smart cities. This can serve as a core idea, and this debate generally refers to civic engagement via technology. So that engagement via technology is especially important and has been pervasively backed by public institutions as a policy vision in which urban citizens are encouraged to play a key role in the collective production and administration of the digital city. So this is smart citizens, public institutions as a policy vision in which urban citizens are encouraged to play. Platform urbanism, what's that? Well, Amazon, Google, Uber, and Airbnb have deeply embedded themselves in urban life, so much so that these are platform urbanism. So Amazon being many different ways, not only now shopping interface, but also interfaces that or platforms that are for music and many different facets of life. Um, and Google has done the same thing with speakers. So that this leads to platform urbanism. Now, again, the lack of understanding about the current pattern and future trajectory of platform urbanism has raised concerns among some geographers who have been former critics of smart cities and techno-capitalist digitalization within cities. Now um, are understanding this complex concept in their own research. So this can serve as a guide to understanding geospatial considerations um, in a critical way. So alternative smart city and the idea of sovereignty. It's important to understand state corporate version of the smart city seems to be far from a panacea for cities. Um, need to think beyond critiques of techno-capitalist developments and instead to imagine an alternative regime of spatial production that contrasts with the familiar narratives of automatic production of space. So we don't want to create an automated production of space and elitism governance. But these are happen to be the familiar narratives, and we have to think beyond the production of black boxes. I'll tell you in a second what that means. So that again, how do we empower ourselves to be able to use technology in a way that it's more equitable? So creating smart cities. This is a book by Rob Kitchen. It has stated necessity of three things: reframing, reimagining, and remaking smart cities. Again, reframing, reimagining, and remaking smart cities. To more frequently, more emancipatory, empowering, and inclusive. Idea of sovereignty, what does this mean to him? Well, he suggests that developing technological sovereignty among citizens in order to demystify the black box of platform as urbanism at the local level. Um, so a lot of times you're not shown what is going on. All you see in the in the platform is just they what the company or want you to see. But to be able to create applications, and these are all very much you have the ability to create this in ArcGIS, but how to teach citizens to take control of that in a grassroots way, so that local level intervention can be created from the framework of a global model. So there are a lot of very differences to be able to understand geospatial context better. Uh, how to achieve technological sovereignty? Technological sovereignty is about possessing the authority and ability. So making decisions about production governance and implementing digital technology in an urban environment. And then emancipatory urbanism with a bottom-up approach. So this has to be a grassroots approach and countering tech capitalist model. So by understanding some of the geospatial context on the local level, we can then create an emancipatory urbanism around it. Not too many more ideas, but the idea behind sovereignty over data by citizens is that not only does technology align to the urban democracy agenda, but it can also be directed better to align to the real problems in particular urban areas. So there you have it. This is the references, but there were a lot of different concepts that were covered here. I hope this has provided some information for you to apply in your geospatial research, so that this can then demystify and reshape and reframe your understanding of geospatial technologies. Thank you for listening.